Hey everyone, Scott here from Planning Center, and today we're going to talk about resources. The resources is really for kind of two different reasons. It's a product that helps you with two different things. One is to track and approve your rooms and resources. And second, it's your central calendar for all the things that are going on in your church. So what we're going to go through today is first I'm going to show you how to create a simple event. Then we're going to show you how to set up resources so that that simple event can be created later. And then I'm going to go through some tips and tricks and also show you how to share and get reports from resources as well. Before we start all of that, though, I want to point out the most important thing for you to remember, and that's this question mark up here at the top right of every one of our Planning Center products. This is where you have access to all of the documentation here. We have suggested articles based on the page that you're on, and you can also browse our documentation or search for something that you're looking for. And lastly, of course, you can contact our support team. This average reply time is something that's going on live. It looks like we're at 43 minutes right there. So if you ask a question right now, most likely you'll get an answer before I'm done with this video. So that's the most important thing. Also, we're recording this live today on a Thursday, but I just want to let you know if you do want to watch this later, we're going to upload it to both YouTube and at planning.center/university. And at planning.center/university is also where we have all of our other Planning Center University videos. All right, let's get started. So with resources, there's the kind of three different, we'll call them roles in the church where resources really is useful. The first role, we call it like an administrative role. And that's like if you're that person that needs to get a pulse of the entire church and you just need to see everything that's going on. Maybe you're like the lead pastor or something like that. You're an administrative person. Resources will help you with that. Or let's say you're the facilities person. So this is a person that just really needs to care about the things that they only care about. So if you're an audio person, for example, you only need to be able to track the audio stuff. So that's facilities person. And then thirdly, there is the ministry oriented people. So those are the like day-to-day type of people who are really, just like creating events and making sure that all the things are going on that needs to happen. You might be one of those roles, or you might be all of them. But during this whole conversation, I'm going to talk about how that's useful to each one of those different kind of roles. All right, first thing we're going to do is create an event. So we have this youth event coming up. The youth band wants to have a community concert where everybody, comes in and we raise some money for a couple events. So I'm going to create a quick event for that. And the way I'm going to do it is on the 18th. That's the day we want to have it. I'll click on New, and I'm going to type the name Community Concert. I could change the owner here to somebody else, but I'm going to keep myself as the owner. And then we're going to add the times and the dates to that. Now, it's really important to set these times up correctly at first. Now, our concert happens between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m., but we need to actually book the rooms and resources for much longer than that. We have a setup time that we want to set things up at 1, and we also have a tear down time after. So even though our event is from 5 to 8, we need to request from 1 to 10 p.m. on that. So we'll do that. This is a one-time event type thing, so there's no recurrence, but if you do have a recurring pattern, you can kind of play with this. You can do whatever you want with this. You can say every other Monday and Thursday if you want with that kind of thing. And then we have our event description. So the event description is like the place where what you're describing the event based on all of your public channels. So for us, we're going to say, come join us for a night of music and fun with your family. Look at that. I done typed it right the first time. I practiced, guys. All right, so we got that. That's going to share on all the Google calendars that you might share. I'll show you that a little bit later there. But that's going to be the public facing description of the event. And lastly, we have tags. We have a couple required tags that we're required to fill out. First is campus. It's going to be on the San Diego campus. And second is ministry. and this is going to be with the youth ministry. So we'll add that and we'll hit submit. And here we're in the event. Now it's time to request those rooms and resources. And here's where the fun begins. So first we're going to have this event in the gym. So I'm going to go to the San Diego campus. We'll go to the student center and I'm going to click and drag that gym right over. And check this out. So this is kind of cool. We have setup options. These are room setups. So there's a bunch of different ways we can make the room, the gym look. And we want to, because we're having a concert, make it look like a theater. I'll go into more detail on that a little bit later, but here's where I would select that. And in this theater, it's basically just chairs. So we have these suggested resources of the stackable chairs, and we want 80 of them. That's how much fit in there. So I'm not going to change anything there. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And here's room questions. So when I'm booking the gym, I need to answer specific questions that the facilities team needs to know. So is this a sporting event? No, it's not a sporting event. How many expected? Let's say, maybe 100 people max. Will food be served? No. Will you require audio or video support? No. Now, it's really important. These questions are kind of like the backbone of resources. The point of resources is to be as clear with these questions as possible. And it helps two different people. First, it helps you because you know that room is going to be ready for you on the day of the event. And second, it helps the facilities team know what to expect for that event so that they can make it available for you. So I'll go ahead and answer that, hit save, and those guys are added. Now, I need a couple more resources. So I'm going to go over here. I need the lighting console because we're doing something special with the lights there. I'll go into the student center, go to production equipment, and click and drag the lighting console onto the gym. There's no questions for the lighting console, so I'll just hit create. And lastly, like in this event, there's going to be a lot of kids coming from the public, and we want to add some trash cans, not in the gym itself, but in the hallway before they get in the gym. So we just want to make sure, their sticky hands don't get sticky things on things. So we want to put the trash cans not in the gym itself, but in the hallway. So I'm going to go out to these trash cans, drag them, and instead of putting them in the gym, we have this sections called resources not in a room. You can see that there. I'll click and drag those, and I could say, you know what, we need all 10 of the available trash cans. And then we added. So that's kind of the requesting the rooms and resources that we need for the event. I'm going to move over to the left side of the screen here for the event schedule. Now this is, remember when I said that the actual event is between 5 and 8. So I'm going to change this to say it's between 5, not 5 a.m. Let's go to 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. But since I need those rooms and resources between 1 and 10, I'm going to add a new schedule, and we're going to say setup from 1 to 5 p.m. But what's neat here is this public visibility section. So I don't want my setup time to show on my shared calendars, right? Because when we're sharing a calendar to the congregation, we don't want to say, hey, there's an event from 1 to 10 p.m. We don't have that many songs that we're going to be playing for. So we want to make sure that the setup time is added, but it's not on the public visibility. In the same way, let's go ahead and add a tear down time for 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. and uncheck that visibility. All right, so I've added my rooms and resources, and I've edited my schedule to be right. I think I'm mostly done, honestly. But let me show you a couple things that's going on to explain what's happening. You can see next to this gym, there's some orange dots, and next to the trash cans, there's a green dot. That's the status of whether or not something is approved. And when it comes to the trash cans, they're kind of like a first come, first served type of thing, right? So because we don't need any like approval process with that, when you book the trash cans, they're immediately approved. When it comes to the gym and stuff, though, we need this approval process that's going to be happening. And those are orange. So I'm going to back out to the event page by clicking on Community Concert. And I would just want to point out two things on this page. First is this approval request thing. So in general, we need to start that approval request, but we don't want emails to go out the second that you book something, right? Because like somebody might be getting an email every single minute for like a 15-minute time frame. So instead what we do is we wait till we think you're done with setting up the event, and then we automatically send out those approvals. So in this case, we're waiting for 30 minutes for no activity, and then we're going to automatically send that. But the object is to start this process as fast as possible. So when you know that you're done and you're ready, go ahead and hit this Send Approval Requests button on the bottom. So that'll send it out to all the people that need to know and need to approve things. And you can see it's 25% approved. That's because those trash cans that we booked were automatically approved there. The other thing I want to point out on this is down here at the bottom in the event activity, and this is the subscribe option. I'll show you how this plays into effect a little bit later, but just take a note how you can subscribe to an event. Because I'm the owner of the event, I'm automatically subscribed to it, so it's there. But if you do want to like keep track of a whole bunch of events you're not subscribed to, or you're not a part of, or the owner of, you can subscribe to it and keep track of that way. Yeah. So that's basically it. And that's basically resources. That's the way to quickly set up an event and get the process started. And this is a huge time saver. Now, I've worked at a small church and a large church, and we used to handle how things work in completely different ways. And I wish that resources existed back then for that. So when I was at a small church, the process was that we had to call the secretary, and the secretary put it on meeting notes for the elder team then to discuss whether or not we wanted to approve this event. And then once it's approved, we would then have to call all the people that are affected by it, like the lighting guy and the sound guy, and just to make sure that they can show up for the event. And then we would, call the secretary then would call back the person who requested it. And sometimes that would take 3 weeks to happen. But with resources, that secretary can do that on the phone. So if somebody's asking to request a wedding, for example, they could be on the phone, book all the things, ask all the relevant questions, and get that process started. And if everybody's like on top of it, you might even get approved or rejected on the phone to figure out what's going on. So super fast, super smooth way to do that. Also, when I worked at a large church, there was another process that we had where every quarter we would have these long, like full day long meetings for the schedule of the next quarter. And this is one of those meetings where, you might lose some friendships, right? So it was these long meetings where we would have to like fight over what event was more important so we can get it on the calendar. And we would try to fill up that calendar as much as possible. And it's just lasting all day. And there's just a lot of stress, for that. So with resources, though, you don't need those meetings. You can add your events as they happen. And you can create conflicts if you need and handle those conflicts as they happen. You don't need all that stress. So that's why resources is such a good time saver for all the different types of size of churches. All right, I've showed you that. Now it's time to show you how to set everything up. And we're going to start backwards. I'm going to start over here on the people page, and we're going to work backwards from resources rooms to events. Now, there's two things I want to point out here on the people page. First is approval groups. This is how you can set up approval groups however you want. There's kind of two ways in general that you might need to get things approved. Like one of the ways might be I have one guy that just needs to approve everything. It might be the pastor, it might be the facilities director or something like that. You can create an approval group with one guy in it. Or gal, sorry, and you can add that there. So if you just have one person that needs to approve it, you can add just one approval group. But let's say I can have one of 4 people approve, like the gym, for example. You can create another approval group for facilities and have one of those 4 people approve that event. So that's approval groups. You can have as many of those as you want, but it's just kind of a way to organize who should be approving what, and how many of the people need to approve it as well. So next on people, I want to show you permissions. So we're going to dive in here to the Barbara profile. And on the right is our permissions. Now you can see that there's 4 different permission levels, and permissions are totally different in resources than they are with any other Planning Center apps. You can see there's 4 things, and you can also see that there's 4 tabs up here at the top: event, room, resource, and people. So what that means is you can have a different permission level based on each one of those tabs. And how that's useful is, let's say, you have a youth guy, you want to make sure that they are a creator, they can create events, but you also want to make sure they don't add rooms or resources, so they're only a viewer for rooms and resources. Or let's say vice versa, the opposite, you're a facilities person and you want them to be able to add and edit rooms and resources, but they can't create events. So you can kind of do like an ad hoc version of permission levels here in resources. Let me show you one more thing here on permissions, and that's this concept of a conflict resolver. So the conflict resolver, that's basically when there's 2 people requesting the same thing. You need 1 or 2 people to be able to like pick which one's going to be the winner, which thing's going to be happening, which thing needs to move or change or something like that. And that's the conflict resolver. You don't want a lot of people to be a conflict resolver. There's only a few people that can wield that power. We want you to manually set that. They'd have to be an administrator, and then they could add as a conflict resolver. We suggest at least 2, and then we also suggest no more than 2. At least 2, so that if somebody's away, there's somebody else who can do that. No more than 2, just because you don't want too many people, basically being able to disagree on that kind of stuff. So that's basically people. Now let's jump over to resources. Now both rooms and resources are organized by folders, and it's important how you set those folders up. So when it comes to resources, first it's important to set it up by location. So like, for example, the San Diego campus, that's the location. And then even more so, the student center, that's a location. But after you're like in the main location, it's important to set up at type of resource. So like the example of audio equipment and production equipment. And that's important for 2 reasons. One, because you really want it to be easy later to find the resources that you need. So if you have a whole bunch of production equipment, you want that in a folder for production equipment, right? You don't want that scattered through a lot of other folders. And 2, you can run reports based off of folders. So it's really important to organize things based on how you might want to run those reports. So yeah, that's it. We're going to dive into a specific resource. I'm going to go into the main building here, and we'll go into video equipment and the video lighting kit. Let me show you what's going on. There's a bunch of neat things happening. I'm just going to point out a few of them. First, you can you can add an image here, but let me just show what's going on the right side. On the right side is where you add your approval groups. So remember those groups that we talked about, you can add those approval groups here. So when somebody books that lighting kit, one of these people in the Worship Center approval group needs to approve it. Second is the questions. And like I said earlier, questions is the backbone of how easy resources are going to be to use. Questions is, I want you to spend most of your time with the questions, because there's a skill, to knowing how to ask the right questions when something's booked. So spend the most time in making this look as good as possible. And you can have there's a bunch of different types of questions you can have, like a drop down or a yes, no, or text, kind of thing. But that's where you should be setting up that, because that plays into when somebody books the video lighting kit, they ask all of these questions each time. I'm going to show you another resource here. We're going to back out to the trash cans. I think it's one more. So a couple other things with this trash cans is we have this quantity. That's just make sure that you don't book more than are available, right? So you would add your quantity there. And then we also have this home location. So if you remember when we booked these trash cans, it was like immediately approved because it was a first come, first served basis. So as the owner, I need to know where to go get those trash cans, right? So that's what this home location is. All these trash cans are stored under the north stairwell. But let's say I go to that north stairwell and they're not there. We also have some help for that over here in the last used section. So you can see that the classroom B101 last used these for the event weekend service. So if they're not under the stairwell, you can go track down, who was the owner of the weekend service and track down exactly where those are. And like I said, with the approval groups, if these are, like a first come, first served basis, just don't add an approval group and they'll immediately be approved just like that. Now, those are two good examples of resources, basically. But I want to show you like a creative example that you can use it a little bit differently than normal. And that's with this box truck. So in this box truck, this is like, at my church, we have a truck that people can borrow if they need to move things, or if we have events off campus, we have the ability to, move those around. Now, at the bottom here, there's some details. Generally, an expiration date is used for, like if you have that fluorescent lighting kit, for example, and I need to make sure I change those bulbs on a specific date. You can do that as an expiration date. But when it comes to the box truck, I can use that as like a maintenance date. Like on February 19th, I need to make sure I change the oil for the truck. So that's expiration date. Also serial number, that's intended for like, if you have a microphone, you need to know which microphone that is because you might have many of them and there's a there's a serial number there. But when it comes to the box truck, you can add the license plate onto it. And the other creative thing that that you can do with questions is add links to forms, Planning Center people forms, for specific things too. So when it comes to the box truck, we need to make sure that people have filled out and understand the insurance requirements to being able to borrow that. So with this, you can create the form in people and then add that link right there. All right, that's basically the resources tab. Let's jump over to rooms. Again, rooms is organized by folder. But with rooms, it's a lot more simple. It's just organized by location. So there's a San Diego campus and we have a student center, for example. Let's dive into the gym here. On the right, it's the same kind of stuff. We have approval groups and we have questions. But I just want to point out the approval groups here. There's actually 2 approval groups attached to this gym because what we want is we want our admin person, Evan, to have to approve the use of this gym. And we want one of the people from the facilities team to approve that as well. So what we do at my church is all the rooms have the admin person do it, and all the resources have just like a ministry type of approval group there. But when it comes to the gym, we need both of those. We need one person from admin, one person from facilities. But on the left side of the rooms are these room setups. So in the gym, there's a bunch of different ways we can set up the gym for you to be able to use it. You can have a divided gym, like we have this temporary wall that we can put in the gym where 2 people are using the gym at the same time. Or you can have just an open gym where there's nothing in there. Or you can have, round tables and chairs, like a nice kind of like banquet type of setup, in the gym. And lastly, of course, the one that we selected last time, the theater. I'm going to jump into there, just show you what's going on. First is the image that you can upload here. This is I've seen a lot of people use this in different ways. I've seen people like set up the gym the way that they should, and then they just take a picture of it so people can look at that picture later and make sure that the chair's in the right spot and all that kind of stuff. Or I've seen people like draw on a napkin and take a picture of that, But what we generally suggest is using a little tool called drawings.google.com. That's drawings.google.com. And you can make these kind of little setups here that we have, and you can upload those. And then, of course, we have this suggested resources. This is where you add those suggested resources. I want to encourage you, when you're creating a room setup, to always add suggested resources. This is super important because it helps, like, when you're creating an event, you don't know all the little things that you're going to need to know when you pull up that room setup. So this is a way to like make sure that you're requesting all the right things. So when you have this theater setup, we know that that theater setup can have 80 chairs in it. So we suggest 80 of them for this particular setup. Even though there's a max of 85, they can't fit all of them. So we suggest 80. And likewise, let me just show you the round tables and chairs here. We have a diagram of what it kind of looks like. And then if you're selecting round tables and chairs setup, you want some round tables and you want some chairs. So we have exactly how many people or how many of each of those will fit. And then we also have some tablecloths that we also suggest. So yeah, so that's room setups. Now let's say though that you have like 10 classrooms, right? And they're all the exact same size. And all of them have two different ways you can set up the classroom. You can have the classroom set up with the desks and chairs, or you can have all those desks and chairs pushed to the side and it's like an open area for like a small group or something like that. Instead of having to create a room setup for all of those 10 classrooms, you can create what we call a shared room setup. I'm going to go back to the root folder of rooms, and on the bottom left, there's the shared room setups option. So you can add those as you want. Then when you go to actually your classrooms, you can link those shared room setups so you don't have to create the setup for each one of them. So it just makes it a little bit easier for you there. The last thing I want to show you about rooms is this concept of an off-site room. I know that's not really a thing, but in a lot of cases when it comes to having an event off-site, you still need certain people to be approving it, and you still need to ask questions. So we encourage you to create an off-site room so that you can add approval groups and you can add the questions there as well. Yeah, and basically, like like I said with the rooms, all of our rooms need to be, all of our events actually need to be approved by our admin person. So how we do that is we add the admin approval group to all of the rooms, and you can do that for offsite as well. All right, now it's time to jump into events, and this is where the fun stuff happens. You can see here, like let's say I'm the administrative person and I need to get the pulse of the church, right? You can see here there's a lot going on. On Tuesday, there's actually more than can fit on this page, so you get 2 more. And on Sunday, there's even more that can fit. But if you are that person that wants to see everything, we have what we call the density filter, where you can just see all events, and it'll just expand based to all the events there. So you can play with that. But the next thing I want to show is the tags that we have. Let's say you're that person that needs to, that they don't care about all the events. They just care about like the audio equipment events on San Diego campus. With that, what you can do is you can say, we can add tags. So I'm going to select San Diego campus, and you can see it automatically filters down to there. And I'm going to select audio. This is now a calendar of all the things that are just San Diego campus and just audio, which is kind of cool. So if you are that facilities person, I encourage you to set up your filters this way. What's also neat about all of these filters is how you set it up. The next time you come back to them, they're going to be set up that way as well. It kind of saves your filter view on that. Another thing I want to point out about this calendar view is this idea of my events. So if you want to just see the events that you own, or maybe you want to see also, you want to be an approver of. So this is like if you are a part of an approval group, whatever those events are that are attached to that, you can see those as well. Or you can say, I also want to do the ones that I'm subscribed to. So that's this concept of my events. It'll show you all the things you're an owner, approver, or subscriber to. And lastly, I want to say, like, we also have this room and resources filter, and this is really cool. This is one of the useful tools for using that is, let's say I want to have an event in the gym, but I don't really care what the date is. I kind of just want to see when the gym is available, right? So you can do that here as well, just by typing in gym. and it'll show you all the things that are available. So it looks like pretty much every Wednesday and Saturday and Sunday, I can use the gym. So if you are one of those people, you don't know the actual date, but you want some tools to help you like pick the actual date, use the room and resources folder there. Now I'm going to delete these and delete the filters there and just show you a couple things that's going on with the calendar. First, if you click on one of these events, you can see a little bit more details on that event. So you can see when it is happening on the one that you clicked on. You can see that recurrence pattern, so it happens every Wednesday. And you can see where that event is, and you can see what resources are being used. And of course, you can see the tags here on the bottom. But there's also some yellow and some red ones over here. Let me show you what those look like. Yellow is basically the events that are still pending. They're not approved or rejected yet. They're pending. So I'm going to click on that, and you can see that we highlight, or we change the font color to yellow on the rooms that and resources that are still pending. So in this case, this is almost done. We just need approval from the people in the gym. So in this case, I can look at that and I can contact those people and just say, hey, this is a week from now. Can you approve it, please? Yes, thank you. And then there's rejected ones. Now, so what's neat about this is you can see which items are rejected. In this particular case, the social media promo shoot, the only thing rejected here are tablecloths. Now, tablecloths shouldn't stop me from having the event. You know, I could probably grab some from home. So, so even though this looks rejected, the only thing rejected are these tablecloths here. I'm just going to remove those from that event, and then the event will be approved. That's a cool way to look at that. All right, now it's time to jump into some tags. Tags is where you get all the fun organizing of your, you know, your resources, basically. So, and I'm just going to point out two tags, things that we suggest that you have. First, if you do have campuses, you should have a campus tag, right? And you should even require that tag to always be added. So in this case, you can see the asterisk, the red asterisk there. That means it's required, and we have all of our campuses here. And of course, some events are off-site or they're online, so we add that as a campus as well, just because that's required. The other thing that we encourage all churches to have is a tag of ministry here on the bottom right. This is like saying I want to organize things based on who's responsible, what ministry is responsible for that particular event. So that community concert, even though that was for everybody, the youth were responsible for that, right? So you can add those tags. We encourage you to add a ministry tag group, and we encourage that to be required as well. If you remember when we added the community concert, we were required to have those tags. And of course, you can add tag groups and of other things if you'd like, and you can, you know, click and drag those around if you like as well. But those are just basically other ways that you could encourage people to organize your events. Yeah, so that's tags. Again, I encourage you to create a campus and a ministry if you have those, and also require those things. It'll help you significantly in the future as you're organizing everything. Like required tags forces you to be organized. So you should definitely have that. All right, the other thing I want to show over here is this little secret. We say it's a secret because not everybody knows about it, but at the far right, there's this table view. So instead of that calendar view, that we have an option for the table view. And this is just automatically organized or sorted by next instance. So you can see just a list of all the things that are happening soon. But in the table view, you can do a couple neat things. First, I can see which events are missing a required tag. Now that doesn't make sense. Like basically, we allowed you to for a while in this organization, we didn't have required tags the whole time, so they created these events before we required tags, and then so this tells me, oh, I got to go make sure that they choose the ministry there. That's one thing they can do. You can just easily see that. You can also like sort by clicking on these things. So you say small groups. I want to see all the small groups. It'll just add it to there, and then let's say I'm going to do just the San Diego ones, and it sorts it there. So you can do all those same powerful filter sorting there as well. But you can do a couple other neat things. Like let's say I want to find out when Christmas is happening next. I can type in Christmas here, and it's going to automatically search, and you can see looks like December 3rd is when all the Christmas decorating starts. So if you have a specific thing that could be a bunch of different events that you want to search for, like Christmas, you can do that in the table view very easily. That's not as easily done on the calendar view, right? Because if I type in Christmas on the calendar view and I'm in August, I'm not going to see the things that are happening in December. So it's a little more helpful on the table view. Another thing that makes table view really helpful is that you can organize things. You can sort things by these columns. One neat one is sorting it by event owner. So if you do want to see all the things that Clay Byers is responsible for, you can see those right there just by sorting it, or you can sort it by next instance, or kind of whatever you want. And of course, also you can add more columns if you want to see, the primary room, or, create a date. You can kind of do all of these things and they'll just update for you there. That's table view. Next, I want to talk about sharing and reporting. All of your views, you can share those views, and you can create reports with those specific views. Some of those sharing options are things like I can create an iCal feed to share, or I can create a kiosk. So like if you have in your lobby, you have like TVs on your screen, and you just want to see what the next upcoming events for that day are, you can show that up on the kiosk. I've also seen people use kiosks for like conferences where they have like an iPad or something next to each one of the rooms to say who the next speakers are. You can do that with the kiosk there. And then of course you have a widget. So if you want that same like 1 day view of what's going on in your website, then you can add a widget to the website there. But let's say like all of those like things that you're sharing, they can be filtered to specific things. So what I mean by that is I want to make an iCal feed to share on my website. I want to make an iCal feed of everything in San Diego that is currently approved. So I can do that, hit share, and I've got the iCal feed for that. But let's say like maybe I'm the facilities person, and I just want an iCal feed of the things that I care about. So I want San Diego campus and audio, for example. Here's that. I can make an iCal feed that. And if I'm that facilities person, I can include hidden times, right? Because I need to know the whole event, the entirety of the resources bookings there. So anyway, we just kind of want to encourage you to play with the filters and the shares. You can kind of like an endless combination of exactly what is going to work with you, what will work for you. The other thing I want to encourage is this report thing. Based on those filters of San Diego and audio, I can create a report for that whole month, and I could run that. I have it over here. Let me show you. This is an example of what that report can look like. How I've seen this be used is like they would print this out and they would paste it every week, a new one inside the closet of the facilities closet. So when you get in, you can look to see what you're going to be responsible for. You can see who you might need to contact if something's awry, and all that kind of information. You can. There's a lot of options with reporting here. So I really just want to encourage you to kind of play with that if you need those reports. And lastly, we do have a mobile app as well. So that we have a resources mobile app for both Android and iOS. So if you are the person, if you have like a techie facilities person that wants to pull up, they can filter to just the filter they talk about, and they can see all the information for all the events on that mobile app. And of course, that's a free app on iOS and Android. And that's basically the gist of resources, but there's one more thing, kind of like the admin side of what happens when something is requested. And I'm going to show you this notifications page over here. You see that bell icon. Because that's a yellow little dot, that means that there's something here that I have to do. And by the way, everything on this page you will get an email about. So you don't even have to go here all the time. You'll get an email about that. And in some of these things, you can actually approve or reject them just in that email. You don't even have to go here. Well, let me show you a little bit of things that's going on here. So we have a Recreation Basketball League that's requested, and I can see all the information about that. It looks like that's happening every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday in the gym. And you can also look at who needs to still approve it, and you can look at all the answered questions. So there's 6 questions here. We only required 4 of them, and you know when you only require a certain amount, they only answer that certain amount. So we only have answers to 4. Is this a sporting event? Yes. That means I shouldn't wax the floors right before that happens. So that's good to know. How many people are going to be there? Will there be food be served? Yes. Okay, that means as a facilities person, I need to make sure that we have cleanup afterwards, you know, like the vacuum and all that kind of stuff. And we'll require audio video support. No, that's great. I don't have to do anything for that. So that's great. I can just go ahead and prove that if I want. I'll prove that, and then that gets sent to the right people that is then approved. Then on the left side, if you're one of those conflict resolvers that I brought up earlier, this is how you deal with those conflict. I'm going to click resolve and show you what's going on. So you can see here on the left, we have an option to choose which event that we'd like, and you can see the recurrence pattern. Looks like the Friday Frenzy. That's happening every other Friday, so that's like an ongoing thing. And then there's the Fall Camp Prep, which is only happening basically on one Friday, so it's just like a one-time shot. And the thing that is there's a conflict on is the gym. Sometimes there might be conflicts on like 3 or 4 different things, and all of those would be over here. In this case, it's just the gym. So if I want, I can say, you know what, this is a one-time thing. That Friday Frenzy crew, they can actually go to the banquet hall if I'd like. So I'm going to choose the Fall Camp Prep, and then I could type a reason in here, and this reason will get sent to the event owner that is rejected. So I can say, please use the banquet hall right there if I'd like. And if I hit resolve, it'll send an email to them saying, please use the banquet hall just for that one night. Also, you have the option to share this room. So if you do have one of those gyms and 2 people can use it at the same time, you can choose to share it. And when you type a reason there, it'll be sent to both event owners. So that's basically saying, hey guys, you both are going to use it at the same time, just to warn you or prepare you for that. All right, that's conflicts. That's basically resources in a nutshell. That it's a place where you can track, and your rooms and resources is a place where you can get access to your calendar, and it's a place to run reports and communicate to the facilities team what's going on in your church. So I hope you learned some things today. If you didn't, or you have more questions, you need to look at it a little bit more. Don't forget about that question mark there at the top right of the screen. That'll give you access to everything that you need. And if you want to watch this again, if you want to share this with your friends or sign up for more university videos, please go to planning.center/university.